So I am Dr. G Suman Lathaal. I am working in the area of the tuberculosis, and today my presentation is on the MTB ligand, that is a toll-like receptor ligand, that is a lipoarabinin, which is inducing immune responses in pulmonary tuberculosis patients and their household contacts. So as we are all aware about the tuberculosis is one of the leading causes. It's it remains as a leading cause of the mortality worldwide, killing around 1.3 million individuals and infecting more than 10.6 million people all over the world. And all over the world, 1/3 of the world population has been infected with TB, but they are asymptomatic. Though they have an infection, but they are asymptomatic, but despite the presence of the lung lesions providing a massive reservoir of the pathogen that can reactivate to pulmonary tuberculosis, and also it can cause the further transmission. So as I am telling you, they are asymptomatic TB patients. They can develop the disease from the long, though they have an infection, but they are asymptomatic, and they are called as a latent tuberculosis infection. And these latent TB is nothing but the people all over the world. I am telling that 1/3 of them are infected. Only 5 to 15% of the latent TB patients can develop into the TB, and they can also transmit the disease. And this is more prevalent, this latent TB is more prevalent among the household contacts than the normal individuals. Okay. So I was telling you household contacts, they are the, if you look into the percentage of the household contacts who are developing the TB, on the average 3.1% of the active TB prevalence is there, and 51.5% are the latent TB prevalence in the low and middle income countries. So it is very important that the household contact tracing is very essential for detecting the individuals with risk of MTB infection and tuberculosis, where it will try to help to prevent the progression to the advanced TB, and also it will help in the control of the tuberculosis. Okay. So I am talking about the toll-like receptors in mycobacterial infection. This is a protective, usually it is a protective immunity to mycobacterium. Mainly it requires an interplay between the innate immune responses and the Th1 dependent cellular immune responses, where they try to contribute to pathogen clearance. But during the infection, when there is an infection of the macrophages, these MTB and its components, they try to encounter the innate immunity, and which operates through a variety of the germline encoded pattern recognition receptors. In that, one of them is called as the toll-like receptors, where they recognize the various molecular patterns of the mycobacteria. So these TLRs, they are involved in innate recognition, and also they try to recognize a variety of mycobacterial cell wall antigens, like different mycobacterial lipoprotein, that is 19-KDA, and the glycolipids like a lipoarabinin. Okay, this is a major immunomodulatory lipoglycan which is found in the cell wall of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So it has a complex, it exhibits a lot of diversity in the structure, and also in the it tries to activate express in a different forms, influencing its biological activity. So this is, as I am talking about the LAM, which is the cell wall protein of the mycobacteria. It has a significant virulence factor implicated in various aspects of the TB pathogenesis. So if you look into how the immune host cells interact and modulate the immune responses through the mechanisms where they are trying to induce the phagocytosis, altering the phagosomal maturation and influencing the cytokine production. So it interacts with the TLRs, that is the pattern recognition receptors, especially the TLR1 and TLR6, which are affecting the cytokine production and also the immune cell activation. So if you look into the cascade of the signaling, downstream signaling, upon binding to its receptors, the LAM, that is, it tries to triggers the intracellular signaling pathway. So it typically involves the recruitment of the MYD adaptor proteins, which leads into the different cascade events of phosphorylation, activation, and finally you can see that the activation of the NFK beta and the MAP kinase pathways. So these processes ultimately lead to the transcription of the genes which are responsible for producing the pro-inflammatory cytokines. So therefore my hypothesis of the study is to understand how the host immune responses to LAMP, how they are modulating both the innate and the adaptive immune responses, which might help us to predict the high risk individuals towards the disease progression. Next, so my objectives are being here to understand the interaction of the MTB ligand with toll-like receptors, and also how the production of this pro-inflammatory cytokines which are occurring, which are trying to play an important role in the regulation of the immune responses, and also the relative expression of the TLRs at different stages of the infection, and to know their relationship with the state of the disease. So, I have followed the TB patients and their household contacts at different intervals of the time period, before the start of the treatment, end of the treatment, and I followed till 12 months, 18 months and 24 months. And because why I have chosen the 24 months means, I have done a survey in a ppm dots unit where we are covering a 5 lakh population. In that we have seen that if one patient is coming as a patient from one house, within 6 months to 2 years another person is coming from the same house as a patient. So, we have designed a work in such a way that it should be followed at least for 24 months. Okay. So, this is again I was talking about the public private mix. It is at Bhagwan Mahavir Medical Research Center, Hyderabad, where the government of India has implemented a DOTS program. Those patients I have taken, and those patients who are sputum positive for pulmonary TB and their household contacts, and individuals with no history of TB like symptoms and family history of TB were selected as a healthy controls for the comparison of their immune statuses. Okay, next. So, inclusion criteria I was telling you that the pulmonary TB patients with sputum smear positive and the culture positive, and the household contacts definition is the individuals who had resided in the household of the TB patients for at least 7 consecutive days during the 3 months prior to the diagnosis of the TB in patients. Mostly they are siblings and the spouses, and the exclusion is all the immunodeficiency disorders like HIV, diabetes and the malignancy. Next. And for this study I have taken the 25 TB patients and their household contacts 50, each patient 2 contacts and healthy controls, and I followed them for a period of 2 years. And we have drawn the blood sample of 10 ml, 10 ml, okay. Next. And these are the methods which I have used to carry out the experiment: LTT assay, ELISA and the RT-PCR. And the results, I just would like to tell you the proliferative responses which we were trying to compare 0 month to 24 months, there is a lot of difference. Like these household contacts, whether they have an infection or not, we have to rule it out. To rule it out, we have done a quantiferon assay to check for their immune statuses. Some are quantiferon positive, that is, and some are quantiferon negative. So, based on that we have divided the categories, and the quantiferon positive individuals are showing a responses similar to that of the patients when compared to that of household contacts, and quantiferon negative patients, if you see, their immune statuses are low. So, during the follow up we are seeing that they are significantly high at 6 months compared to that of the quantiferon negative. And this is the just information what I have read, that the same thing. Next. And these are the cytokines which have been estimated from the patient's supernatant culture supernatants. So, the baseline and the changes during the study I have done the experiments, and I have finally it is the inference is the elevated cytokine IL-1 is associated with the active TB, and household contacts, even they are quantiferon positive, show lower IFN similar to that of the healthy controls. Next. And quantiferon negative, the IL-1 beta levels were markedly elevated in active TB at baseline compared to the healthy controls. And next, and the TNF alpha results, the TNF alpha baseline and the follow up, if you compare, they are altered in both the PTB and the HCC compared to HC, but they show distinct patterns, that is a significant rise during the treatment in TB while stable levels in HCC, suggesting this TNF alpha may play a differing role in active disease versus latent TB. Okay, and the quantiferon level negative individuals household contacts, their TNF alpha levels, if you see, a significant increase in the TNF alpha was observed at the 18 months. Okay, this is also skip it. And IL-12 cytokine, during the study we have followed them. Next, these IL-12 levels, if you see during the study, here in the follow-up, like next back side, you just go, yeah, otherwise come to the front, back, yeah. Both quantiferon positive and negative TB patients and household contacts show significantly reduced IL-12 levels at baseline compared to healthy controls, indicating a impaired immune activation at disease onset or a latent infection. But however, these IL-12 levels rise significantly during the follow-up in both the groups, but reflecting a immune recovery and the enhanced protective immunity over a time. And even I have carried out the TLR expression, the TLR1 mRNA expression, if you see, the patients have shown increased expression with significant difference at 2-fold, 3-fold at 6 and 24 months. And the TLR6 mRNA expression, when compared to the 0 month, it is a reverse was observed in the case of healthy controls, household contacts, where it significantly decreased during the follow-up study by 2-fold at the 18 months. Okay. So, in conclusion, I can say that this follow-up study highlights the dynamic nature of the LAM induced immune responses in pulmonary TB and their contacts, and at baseline these pulmonary TB patients and the quantiferon positive household contacts showed low lymphoproliferation and reduced levels of IL-12 and elevated IL-1 and the reduced TLR1 mRNA expression, which suggests that there is an impaired innate immune responses. So, during the course of the treatment, PTB patients showed restoration of the immune responses slowly, which is demonstrated by increased lymphoproliferation, elevated TNF alpha and IL-12 levels, and a progressive upregulation of TLR1 mRNA expression. So, in contrast, if you see the household contacts, they demonstrated a decline in the proliferation and cytokine levels during the follow-up, which potentially indicating that they have a decreased immune activation towards the latency. And next, just I would like to thank, this work has been funded by the Government Department of Biotechnology at the Government of India, and there are other funding agencies also where I have tapped the money to carry out this work. And I would like to thank the scholars and also the patients and their household contacts who have supported to carry out the study. Thank you.
Thank you.